Hello everyone and welcome back to That Car Vlog channel. If you don't already know, my name is Andy and this thing next to me is the brand new 2024 Chevy Blazer EV RS. Now I'm sure it's no secret the Chevy Blazer obviously started out as an off-road SUV back in the day to compete with the Bronco, the Ram Charger, that kind of thing. And yes, in recent years Chevrolet has brought back the Blazer name for both a gas-powered crossover and now this, an electric crossover. And to the haters out there, I know, but let's just check this thing out anyway because it's pretty cool. But before we begin, I would like to thank the folks at West Chevrolet of Alcoa, Tennessee for allowing me to use this Blazer EV for today's review video. Once you're done here, make sure to check out the link in the description below to go to their website and check out their amazing inventory. But once again, thanks to them, let's jump right in now. So let's start the tour of this new Blazer EV the way I usually do, doing outside styling. And first off, just looking at the overall actual styling of the vehicle. Now, although this is no longer an off-road SUV using the Blazer name, this is still a very good looking vehicle. Now, for anyone wondering how this thing compares to the gasoline powered Chevy Blazer, this is not the same vehicle. They are pretty much the same in name only, but they still do look somewhat similar, although this thing definitely has some much more drastic styling to it, but they're still basically different vehicles. What this thing is pretty much the same as is the new Cadillac Lyriq EV. So let's go into a bit greater detail here. Let's start looking at the front end right here. So you got some pretty nice LED headlights and turn signals right here. See, it's a good looking car, pretty aggressive. You got that RS badge right down there, little front facing camera right there. But check out what the lights do when I hit the unlock button. They do a little dance to greet you. And I love how it also lights up the Chevy bow tie right there in the middle. That's really cool. And if I lock the car, nothing happens. But the rear gets the same treatment as well. Push the unlock button or approach the car, and the taillights also do their own little dance. See how they come in and kind of stack up right there? It looks really cool. Lock it up and nothing happens. Otherwise, there's not a lot to see up front. It's just really nice styling, and those headlights are pretty cool as well. As we come down the side here, this RS trim does get you these nice 21-inch wheels right here. There is one lower trim, it's the LT, is going to get you some 19s. This here's got the 21s. Now stepping back, you're going to wonder, where's the charge port door on this thing? It's an electric vehicle. It's not immediately obvious. Let's zoom in here on the fender behind the front wheel. And on this panel specifically, so let's just tap right here. You see these two little lines, tap here, and here comes your charge port door opening out and down. It's kind of a cool little motion right there, a neat little futuristic touch. Plug it in, charge it. Once you're done, hit that button right there, which is actually the button that you're pushing when you push on these lines. Push that button and it'll raise itself right back up into place. Slowly, but it will do it. There you go. I do like the color black on this car, although you don't get very much contrast when looking at the body of a black vehicle. But just for a little bit of clarification on color styling, so your pillar right here, your A pillar, is going to continue the same body color no matter what you get all the way over to here. Then it's going to be black trim, black trim, black trim, tinted windows. You're going to get this nice line of black that runs all the way to the back, looks really coherent, looks really nice. And if I could find a picture of a lighter colored car, I'll throw that on screen so you can see that a little bit better. Coming around the back here, you got a kind of a neat little spoiler situation going on. Looks kind of neat with your integrated third brake light. Little tiny rear wiper, because this is kind of a short window, so you're not going to be able to fit a very big wiper on there. It's a nice blacked out Chevy badge right here. Here's a better look at those tail lights kind of lighting up right there, even though the key's not in my pocket. And zoom in here on your Blazer badge. So this is how Chevy's decided to badge their electric vehicles that operate on their Ultium platform. And that is these three blue lines in place of the letter E. That's pretty much how they're going to designate the EV version of a vehicle, whether it be this or the Silverado EV, or I guess any other EVs in the future that have an E in their name. If you're wondering where the reverse lights are, well, going with modern trends, they're down here on the bumper next to the reflectors. Over here on the passenger side, you get your all-wheel drive badge and your RS badge. Your RS trim is available in either an all-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive, whereas your lower trim LT is only available as an all-wheel drive. Now, while we're on the outside, let's talk about your front storage situation. So here in the driver's footwell, you're going to pull this hood lever twice, and you're going to open this hood to find that you don't actually have a storage compartment. So apparently there's a big trend with EV companies saying that a lot of people don't actually use their front trunks. I don't know how true that is, whether it's very true or not, but it would still be nice to have extra storage up front if it's possible. Just something, and you may not need it all the time, but it's nice to have. Now you do get access to just a few things under here, like your brake fluid right there. Under this lid is going to be where you're going to fill up your windshield washer fluid. And then you got this cover right here with a fireman's helmet on it. So in case of a fire, your firefighters know where to go to cut power to the car. Looking at the interior, we're going to start here on the driver's door panel. Now, as you can tell, this is the black interior on this car. You can also order your Blazer EV with a nice, cool, sporty red interior if you want, you know, a bit more sporty, fun touch to it. But this one has the black, and it still looks pretty decent, so let's go over it. You get a few different materials on the door panel here, but a little bit of soft touch right here. A little bit of fabric down here. You got contrasted red and blue stitching. Kind of cool, they went with two colors. Some textured stuff right here. Some textured stuff behind smooth stuff right here. Nice and shiny gloss black to get your fingerprints all over. But contrast red stitching right there. Got a couple of seat memory buttons right here. Some locks right here. All your power mirror window controls down here. And right down here's a button you can hit to open the rear hatch as well. Right here, look at the driver's seat. You can see you got fully adjustable power seats. They also have the two colored contrast stitching on them right there. Looks really nice. Goes up the sides. You get a little bit of red piping as well. So you do still get a little bit of sporty trim in your RS Blazer. You even get RS embossed into the headrest. It's kind of hard to see, but it is there. So you get a little bit of sporty trim in your Blazer EV RS, but the red is so much cooler. At least I think so. Starting on the left side of the dash and going across, first off, look at these air vents right here. I love these air vents. These are actually pretty cool looking. There's nice circular bits with the red accents in them. You can aim these things anywhere you please, no matter where you want to. If you want to cut airflow, just simply turn it 90 degrees to the left, turn it back to cut the airflow back on. But that's not the coolest part of this thing. Look up here at the housing on this vent. That's kind of cool. I'm not really sure how to say what that looks like. I guess like the afterburner on a fighter jet or something. That looks really cool. Down below that, you have just a few buttons: your electronic parking brake, your lane keeping assist, and your auto hold for sitting at stoplights and whatnot, as well as your gauge brightness. That's about all you're going to get down there. Looking at your steering wheel, it's not the fanciest of wheels, but it is still really nice. You got this nice wrapped wheel with this contrasted red stitching all over it. RS badge down here on the somewhat flat bottom. It does actually look pretty good. Blacked out Chevy badge right here. You got some power controls for your adaptive cruise control settings right here. And right down here, you got this blank area, which, if you're wondering why that's there, what did they not include? That is because right now in 2024, the Blazer EV is not being offered with the Super Cruise, the self-driving system in General Motors vehicles. From what I understand, that should be coming out sometime early next year, 2025. Once that is offered, that's where those controls are going to go, is right there, hopefully. Over on the right side, you got a few buttons right here going to control music and your gauge screen right here. You got your heated steering wheel button on the steering wheel where it should be. A little bit of phone controls, not bad at all. Looking behind the steering wheel, you got one paddle right here on the left side. If you're wondering why there's any paddles at all, because this is an electric car, there's no transmission. Well, that's because that is for brake regen control. Of course, you got your signal stalk over here with your front and rear wipers. And over here, this stalk is much like with Mercedes and Tesla and a lot of other cars. This is how you're going to put it in drive, reverse, and park. Of course, behind that, you got an 11-inch digital gauge cluster screen. We'll get to that one separately in a moment. As well as this, the 17.7-inch digital infotainment screen. We'll also get to that separately in a little bit too. You see that red and blue stitching continues across the dash all the way over to the passenger side, a little bit up here too. Does really look nice. And down here below the screen, you do have a few physical climate controls. You got your temperature control knobs, you got your power, your auto, your fan speed, and stuff like that. But this is not all of your climate controls. We'll get to where the rest of those are in a minute. Down from that, you get 3 more of those cool air vents. Once again, aim them wherever you want or twist them to turn them off and on. And below that, you get a nice kind of rubberized storage area that goes way up under the dash. Coming back, you got this roll top lid right here. If we pull that back, you're going to get some more storage, as well as a couple of USB Type-C ports right here. Dual cup holders behind that, and behind that, a wireless charging pad. Going back from there, here's your center console storage lid. Your contrasted stitching continues there. It really does look nice. Open that up, and you get some fairly decent storage. It's a little bit narrow, but it's very deep. Get another USB Type-C charger right here, and a 12-volt round right there. Now we're going to make our way up towards the ceiling. You're going to see right here, you have GM's digital rear view mirror. So here you can see it's in regular mirror mode. It's reflecting my camera light. Flip this up and you get a rear view mirror camera, which I think is so great. I'm glad that more and more GM models are coming out with this, and I hope that more and more auto manufacturers will follow suit. I know Toyota has started and a few others. I'm hoping that a lot more of them continue. This is a very useful feature because, well, let's turn around and look back, and look at that. You got that narrow rear window, you've got headrests right there, and God forbid you load this thing up with people and stuff, it's gonna block your rear visibility if you load it down. Not with that. I love this. I think it's great. It's especially useful in large trucks and large SUVs where you might hinder your rear visibility, and it's especially useful in one of those, the Chevy Corvette, where you already don't get a lot of rear visibility because of it being a sports car with a tiny rear window. We'll continue across the dash to the passenger side. You get what looks like it's going to be a storage tray right here, but it's really not. It's just kind of got that styling feature in it. There's no storage tray right there. Don't be fooled by that. But you do get a glove box down here. It's a decently sized glove box. Nothing special about it. It's not tiny. It's not cavernous, but it'll do. All right, jumping on to the second row, the rear seats of your Blazer EV, and starting here, of course, at the door panel as we always do. And I love that once again, Chevy decided to make sure that the rear seat got the same treatment as the fronts. It looks really nice with the same materials, the same contrasted stitching. Continues onto the seats right here. You get 3 people across, or of course you can pull down right here and you can get an armrest with cup holders. Go across right here, you get a storage pocket on the back of both seats, not just one. I always like to see that. You get your climate vents right here on the back of the center console for the second row. Same as the fronts, they look really cool. Down below that, you get a couple of USB Type-C charging ports, as well as 3-level heated seating for the second row seats. And of course, if for any reason you want to fold down second row seats to put more stuff in, just pull this latch right here and they flip right down for you. Easy as can be. Now, as far as second row interior space, that's something else the Blazer EV does very well. Let's step on in here and check out the room that I've got in the back of this car. So I've got plenty of leg room right here, which is actually really nice. Now this car, it is still a midsize SUV. It's only about 2 inches longer than, say, a Toyota Highlander or something, but you get some pretty decent rear interior space back here. Of course, this is behind the passenger seat. The driver's seat is slid a little bit further back. You know, if you got a tall driver, that's going to happen. But still, for a mid-size, this is pretty nice. You got really good headroom, at least a couple of inches right here, so plenty of room there. Decently comfortable seats. It's not a terrible place back here. I do not hate it. All right, so we'll talk about the rear storage space in a second, but first I want to talk about getting into that rear storage space. So you got 3 different ways to do this. The first, of course, you can hit that button I showed you earlier on the driver's side door panel. That'll raise it up from the inside. You've also got this button right here on your key fob. Tap that twice. Of course, it's going to raise the door. Or there is a setting you can change in the infotainment screen under Comfort and Convenience that allows you to do this. Take this key right here, stick it in your pocket, and grab this giant invisible box. I promise you there's one here that you need to put in the back of this car. You can just carry this massive, heavy thing to the back of the car, approach it, and it will open right up for you. Load her in the back of the car, close it back, and your life just got easier. Now, it is worth noting that if you don't want that feature, you can turn that setting off in the infotainment screen. You don't have to have it, but it is kind of nice and handy to have if, you know, you tend to carry a lot of large items to the back of your car. Do keep in mind that if you have the automatic opener on and you just kind of walk past the back of the car, it's going to think you're wanting to open it, but it won't actually open unless you hang out for that 4th beep. Okay, now we'll get into the back. And I was wrong. There's not 3 ways to get in here. There's 4, because you still have the button right here on the lift gate to push to open it up. So 4 ways. That's 4 to get in the back of the Blazer EV. Now, looking at the rear cargo area, there's actually not a whole heck of a lot to see back here. You get a couple of interior lights, nothing special there. If we raise up on this floor, you get a little bit more storage right here. You get some shallow storage right there with your tow hook. You get a little bit deeper storage right here. So that's kind of nice. Otherwise, not a lot to see back here. Total storage space back here is 25.5 cubic feet with the second row up. Now, your biggest hindrance, of course, is going to be the sloping line at the rear window. So keep that in mind. If you got especially tall items, they may not fit all the way to the back. However, if you do need more room, just kind of flop these seats down right here, and that'll open you up to 59.1 cubic feet of cargo storage space. So you can get a good bit more in here. That's probably the way you're going to get your especially tall items in the back of this car. All right, let's talk screens now. Let's talk about your 11-inch digital gauge cluster screen in your Blazer EV. So this is actually a pretty decent screen. It looks kind of nice. It is relatively configurable. On this configuration right here, you're pretty much your default configuration. You got your big digital speedometer right there. You got your charge level right here on the left, and over here, you got how much power you're using whenever you accelerate and drive. Of course, this level here is going to tell you how much brake regen you've got going on. when you come off the accelerator. So you kind of got pretty much all your information that you're going to need right there in front of you. It looks really nice. Right here on the steering wheel, you got a music note button right here and a up and down lever right here. Hit that music note button, the right side of the screen is going to light up and you're going to be able to select your audio source, AM, FM, Sirius, all that good stuff. Push that note again to go out of that menu. It'll show you right here when anything's playing, what's playing, that kind of thing. And over there on the left, you got a few simple things like time, date, temperature, that kind of thing. Now you got another button right here on the bottom of this spoke below the music note button. This button is going to change your gauge cluster layout. So we push that button right here. Here it's going to switch over to this screen right here. Now you get a little bit more detailed information. You get your charge information really big over here. Get your speedometer and your charge over here really nice and big. And of course your information that was over here moves over here. So it's kind of a different view, gives you a little bit more information and a bit nicer view of the information you had on the previous screen. Hit that button again, you're gonna go into a full screen map right here in your gauge cluster. Now you do have a nice big map over here on your infotainment screen, which we'll get to in a second, but maybe you want to see other things over there. Cool, because you've got a full screen map right here in front of you on your gauge cluster screen. You get all the necessary information over here, your speed, your battery charge, that kind of thing, right there in the corner. This is really nice. I've recently complained that Chevy wasn't putting full screen maps in some of their full-size trucks. And I did just recently do a review of the Chevy Colorado ZR2, and I saw this screen in there, and it's made me really excited. And I'm glad to see that this is in more Chevy models. I hope they migrate this to all their other models, because this is really smart. Automakers, listen up. If you're going to give us full screen gauges, it's just software. Give us a full screen map as well. This is brilliant. Hit that screen change button again, and now here is your driver assist information. So you can see here's your following distance for your adaptive cruise and whatnot. So if you are using driver assistance and you want to see what's going on with that, this is a screen you're going to want to be on. You still get all the same information, a little bit more condensed version of your speed and whatnot over here, but still you get nice info. Hit that button one more time. You're going to get more of a calm screen. It's going to be a lot less going on this screen. You just got your speed sign, little small display for your kilowatt usage and your regen, that kind of thing. All your other important information like seat belts and range stuff going to be along the bottom. So if you don't want a busy screen with a lot going on, this is the screen for you. And now let's look at the 17.7-inch infotainment screen in the center of your Chevy Blazer EV. And here we're still sitting on that map that I kind of pulled up for you earlier to show you the map on both screens. And this is actually a great way to showcase the way the screen is designed, because it comes all the way over to this curved section. They don't square it off or anything and look weird. It follows the curvature of the display shape. I really love the way that looks. But let's go ahead and get started. So let's go home so we get rid of that distracting map and look over here at the far left of the screen. And we're going to focus here on the top of the screen where you see this little power button right here. So you tap on that and it's going to turn on your stereo. And luckily I've got it set on something that's staticky so there's no copyright. But that'll turn that on. Push that again, it turns it off. It really more mutes it than anything else. Now we'll go ahead and turn that back on and focus down below that at this knob. Now this is the only knob you're going to get to control your audio. Now of course this is your volume control knob, nice and easy, nothing to tap on the screen or anything like that. But check out what happens when I turn it. You get a little display of your volume level going around the knob itself. That's actually really a neat touch. And no, tapping the center of that doesn't do anything. It's just for display purposes, for mute or not mute. Down below that, you got a few buttons right here for quick controls on the car. This button right here turns on and off your one pedal drive. I like having that on, I think it's cool. This button right here will be used if you want to manually turn the car off. You don't have to do that. If you do get out and lock the doors, it'll shut itself down automatically, but you can use that to turn it off manually if you want. Tap this button right here. It'll actually tell the car to remain on for 60 minutes after you get out of the car and lock the doors. So say you got a dog or something in here, you don't want them to get hot, or maybe you have to go into a building for half an hour, but you don't want the interior to get hot and you want to be able to get back into a nice cool interior, turn that on. Not a bad idea. And then right here is your headlight controls. This is something Chevy's starting to do in a lot of their newer vehicles. I just saw this in the 2024 Colorado. These are your headlight controls. Tap here and you've got your 4 options: off, auto, parking lights, or on. Leave those on auto and you'll really never have to touch the headlight controls at all. It is kind of a shame that it's not a physical control, but at least you have auto headlights. Now we're going to look at the bottom of the screen right now. As I told you earlier, you get some physical climate controls, but that's not all of your climate controls. The rest of them are up here in the screen. Here's your temperature adjuster. You can do it on the screen or you can do it on the knob, whatever. Right next to that, your controls for your heated and cooled seats. Tap that. You can choose cooled seats or you can choose heated seats, whatever you want, or you can just turn them off. Then you got your recirc setting right here, or redundant fan speed control, air positioning control, AC sync, and the controls for the passenger side as well. And now here we're looking at what is pretty much the home screen in this infotainment system. And there's a lot of great things right here. And there's a lot of controls that are being moved away from knobs and switches into your infotainment screen. One of those right here is your drive mode selector. You're gonna tap that on the screen right here, and now you got your drive mode. You got normal, sport, snow and ice, and then you got my mode, which is this customizable drive mode. We'll tap on that, go to right here, and you're gonna be able to edit this drive mode. So you can change your steering feel, sport and normal, your brake feel, sport and normal, acceleration feel, sport, normal, or relaxed. Motor sound, you can tell how much sound you actually want to hear, if you want it to be nice and subdued, or sporty for even more sound, or just off. That, of course, is the sound that the car is going to make through the speakers when you accelerate the car. Obviously, electric motors don't really make much of a noise, if at all, so these EV makers like to pipe some in for you. Back to home, tap right here on climate, and you got this big, huge display with some redundant climate controls. If you don't want to use the small buttons on the bottom, you want to see it big, you can have that, but you don't have to have this screen. Go back to home here. Ambient lighting, you can change what colors you have, your brightness. You can even link it to a drive mode. Back on home, go to camera, and you get a bunch of different camera views in this car as well. Now over here is going to be your controls. You got 2 different rows of controls for your front and rear, standard, overhead, and side. So if we leave this button on front, on standard, you're looking straight out the front of the car. You can see that right there. Click on overhead, and now it's going to focus down on the nose of the car. Click on side, now you're going to be looking down the front of the car. Look at those wheels, turn with the wheel, just to clarify that is the front of the car. But maybe you want to look at the rear. Tap right here on rear. Now you're looking out the standard rear view. Here's your overhead. Here's your side view looking at the rear tires. Pretty nice camera system in the car, lots of different views. Definitely a nice thing to have. If you click right here on vehicle status and let that thing load up, you're going to be able to check a variety of things here. Let's go to tire pressure. It's going to show you the pressure in each tire there, of course. Click on energy info, energy usage, and it's going to show you all kinds of great information, how much charge you've used during driving, that kind of thing. In fact, it's going to show you what percentage of your battery is going towards driving, climate controls, that kind of thing. And of course, you got a big view of how efficient you are with your energy as well. Go out of that, go to your trip, and here, of course, is your trip odometer information. Back on home screen right now, if we swipe over here, we're going to go to this controls menu right here. And here you're going to see a bunch of controls that Chevy has moved to the screen instead of using buttons on the dash. So here's one that says dome light. So you think, why dome light? I've got buttons right here to turn on my individual dome lights, that kind of thing. But what you do not have is a button to turn on all of your dome lights in the car at once. Tap that, and now they all come on. There's your rears. Here you got your power window lockout. So instead of having a button over there on the driver's door to lock out your rear windows, that kind of thing, you're going to tap that here in the screen. Here's another button to take you to your cameras. This one, of course, is going to turn on and off your auto high beams instead of a button. And of course, this is for your park assist. And over here on the far left, this is the HUD. This is the controls you're going to use to adjust your heads-up display. So here, of course, you got your brightness, you got your height adjustment, and you've got your rotation. There is no control here to adjust what type of information that you see in the heads-up display. It's all just default information. Unlike some of the bigger trucks and SUVs where you can get different varieties of information by switching between different display modes, you only get one display mode on this heads-up display over here. Now let's go up top because you got a few little shortcuts up here, which is cool. Now let's click on this one right here. And this is going to take you to this nice, neat split screen right here. We get your map over here, you got your radio over here. You can see 2 different things at once on the screen, which is nice. Click right here, you've got tire pressure. Click right there, you've got Google Assistant. And if you want to change what you see on these screens, just tap the edit button and it's going to give you that right there. And the rest of these shortcuts are pretty neat because these are actual shortcuts based on the icons down here in the menu. So here's your audio, there's your audio, here's your phone, there's your phone. So this is pretty cool. These are shortcuts that you can add or remove to and from the top of the screen. So say, maybe you want to be able to easily access your camera system on any screen in the car. Just drop that up there. Maybe you don't want that up there anymore. You can always take it right off. If you don't like the positioning of icons, you can take and you can switch the positioning of the icons. Whatever you want to do. You can do the same thing down here. You don't like where they're at, just switch them. Kind of neat. So that's kind of cool. You do get a little bit of customization in this thing. Now this actually is an Android-based system, which should come as no surprise to anyone that realizes that Google is baked into these systems. So it's kind of no shocker that you have features like that in here. Now, I mentioned that this is a Google-based system. So you get a lot of cool things. You get your podcast, you get your Google News, you get Google Assistant, you get Google Maps, you also get Amazon Alexa. However, there are 2 things that are not available in your Chevy Blazer EV, and Chevy is actually working on phasing them out of all their vehicles, and that is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Because of this partnership with Google, you get their full suite of features, Assistant and stuff like that. So there's no need for Android Auto. Sorry, Apple CarPlay guys. I wish I could help you. All right, before we drive, let's talk about trims, pricing, and performance. Now, all prices come directly from Chevrolet's website as of this morning before I shot the video. Currently, your Blazer EV comes in 2 trim levels. First is your LT starting at $50,195. This is available only as an all-wheel drive vehicle, 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque with a range of 279 miles. Then you step up to this, the RS trim, which is available in a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Now, it might get a little weird here. Your all-wheel drive RS starts at $54,595. If you want rear-wheel drive, add $1,600 to that price roughly for the rear-wheel drive. That's 2 less than the all-wheel drive. Of course, your all-wheel drive RS has the same power as your LT, 288 horses, 330 pound-feet of torque, same range as well at 279. If you do get the rear-wheel drive version, you also get a larger increased capacity battery pack. That's going to get you 340 horsepower, 325 pound-feet of torque with a range of about 324 miles. That's probably why you're getting the increased cost, because you're getting the increased battery as well. As far as 0 to 60 with your all-wheel drive, you're looking at a time of right around 6 seconds. So I would assume you get a little bit faster with the rear-wheel drive with more power, but you are also only rear-wheel drive, so we'll see. Now, there is a third trim that is already listed on Chevrolet's website, but is not yet available to order, nor is their pricing available yet on the website, and that is the SS trim. This supposedly is going to come with right around 560 horsepower, 665 pound-feet of torque, and a range of 290 miles or so. These are all estimates that I found from different sources online. This is going to be your fast, powerful one. Once again, not yet available to the public, not been released yet. You can't order one, you can't even get pricing. So hopefully we'll see that soon. We'll get an idea of what that's going to be, and I'll be able to get inside of one. I've also heard rumor of a future front-wheel drive base model. Other than that, I haven't heard any other details, but apparently it's coming in the future. Obviously, it's going to cost a bit less than even your LT. All right, let's get out here and drive the new Chevy Blazer EV RS. Now, to start the car, you're not going to get into this thing and push a button to turn it on or off. All you got to do is have the key in your pocket, jump in the car, and press the brake pedal, and it's going to come to life. Once you're ready to go into gear, you got this lever right here, just like on a Mercedes or a Tesla, where you just up and down. I think Rivian has it too. Down for drive, up for reverse. The only difference with the Blazer is you got to pull back and down to put it into gear. If you want reverse, back and up. Neutral is just back, and then put it in park with the button. So let's go ahead and get on the road with this thing. Now, I've got the one pedal drive turned on this because I actually like one pedal drive in EVs, which is really nice, and it's not even on the most aggressive mode either. You can turn it up to be a bit more aggressive than what I've got here. But I love the one pedal drive because it truly is that. Just accelerate, and you want to slow down, just pull off a little bit, or if you want to come to a stop, pull off all the way. And this thing will slow itself all the way down to 0 miles per hour without you ever touching the brake. Now, if one pedal drive is too weird for you, you're used to automatic cars, you don't like that, you can turn that feature off. You will wear the brakes out faster. With this, you're just using the electric motors, and of course, that's also going to give you brake regen to send a little bit more power back into the battery pack whenever you do brake. Now, keep in mind that at any speed of 20 miles an hour or less, you are going to hear that sound that all EVs are required to make for pedestrian safety. So keep it above 20 if you don't want to hear that sound pretty much constantly. All right, let's go into drive modes, make sure that we're in sport, and all the settings are there for sporty driving. So let's talk about first generally what it's like to be in and drive this car. It's actually pretty comfortable in here. Now, being the RS, the slightly more sporty version, you still get just basic seats. You're not getting any kind of sporty bolstered bucket seats or anything, but they're still nice. They're fairly comfortable. They're heated, and especially right now on a nice spring day where it's kind of warm outside, they're cooled, and they work very, very well. Visibility is actually pretty great out the sides or of the hood, as you would expect. The only place where visibility really is going to suffer is out the rear window because, like I said, it is kind of narrow, but that's what you got. That's what you got the camera screen for. You don't need that anymore. I love this. I hope everybody ends up doing this. I'm sure they will. Everybody catches up to each other at some point. As far as ride comfort itself, it's what you'd expect from a mid-size crossover. You're not soaking up bumps like a Rolls-Royce. However, they're also not harsh like a sports car. It's all nice and acceptable. You're going to feel them, you're going to know they're there, but they're not going to hurt. I do like the steering wheel, just to point that out. It is a somewhat thick steering wheel, so it feels nice to hold. It's got that flat bottom to make it more easy to enter the car. I definitely like that. It's a pretty nice wheel for, you know, a $50,000 crossover. Now, I did mention that your RS trim starts right around $54,595 on the website. This one, as equipped, is pretty much right there at the $54,000 to $55,000 mark. You can option these things up if you want into the $60,000 range, but I honestly think this one is equipped pretty nice. One thing this does not have is a sunroof in it. If you don't like sunroofs, cool. If you do, you may have to option one in. This one doesn't have it. I don't mind it so much. So handling is okay. You do get some body roll because, once again, you're driving around in a mid-size crossover. It's decent enough around a sweeping curve, but, you know, don't expect a whole lot out of it because it's not a sports car. The all-wheel drive definitely helps, and the low center of gravity with the battery pack on the bottom definitely helps. Still, adjust your expectations for the type of vehicle this is, if, you know, you even care about handling in a mid-size crossover. Okay, so 0 to 60 time in your all-wheel drive RS Blazer. 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque. Supposed to be 0 to 60 in 6.0. Let's see how it feels from 0. And you can hear that sound that it pipes in when you're accelerating hard. So yeah, I definitely believe that that's a 6-something second 0 to 60 time. It's fast. Of course, it's got that instant torque that you're going to get from electric motors, but it's not going to pin you to the seat as hard as, say, that quad motor Rivian that I tested out. Absolutely not. Now remember, you got those two different sound modes for acceleration. You got normal mode, so you can just, you know, or of course, if you want a little more sound, you got sport mode. And there's definitely a clear difference between the two. Or if you don't want it all, you just turn it off completely, and then all you're hearing is the noise that actually comes from the electric motors, no piped in noise. You know, I can't decide if I like the intense artificial noise coming in, or if I just like to hear the slight whine of the electric motors. I don't know. The electric motor sounds more pure to me. Maybe I'll leave it like that. But, you know, if you're like me and you've been around gasoline engines all your life and silent cars might be a little weird for you, you can always turn the sounds on. But hey, even with no sound, I kind of like it though, because it's kind of that odd feeling that you're just taking off quick and there's virtually no noise, except for that little bit you get off the electric motors themselves. Oh, and for anyone wondering about turning radius, yeah, it has an excellent turning radius as well. I'm actually quite pleased with it. So if you're thinking about a mid-size electric crossover and you're wondering what you're shopping against when thinking about one of these, pretty much what you're looking at as far as competitors are going to be things like your Tesla Model Y, your Hyundai Ioniq 5, your Ford Mustang Mach-E. Yes, I know. And Kia EV6, that's another one right there. Those are the ones you're going to be cross-shopping against. As far as my experience, I have driven the standard Mustang Mach-E and I have driven a Tesla Model Y long range. And I will say that this thing does feel similar to drive to both of those, especially in acceleration and handling. I think the Tesla and the Mustang might do a little bit better in the handling department, but not by much, and that's me trying to remember from my experience. As far as acceleration, I do think the Tesla does a little bit better. I think it is a little bit faster. I'd have to look that up and find out to be sure. But I feel like from my experience, the Model Y, even the long range that I tested, was a bit faster than this. But I still think this is a pretty neat car, and I still think it's a great option to consider if you are wanting to get into the mid-size electric crossover world. I would definitely encourage anyone considering an electric mid-size crossover to put this on your list. Go test drive one and see what you think. I think it's pretty cool despite the use of the Blazer name that every car enthusiast, I get it, Blazer. Every car enthusiast is going to say the same thing. They shouldn't have used it. Whatever. I can't wait for the SS version to come out with that massive increase in horsepower and see just what that thing's like to drive. I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on one of those as well. All right, y'all, so I guess that's going to pretty much do it for the new 2024 Chevy Blazer EV RS. Despite the use of the Blazer name, this is a neat car. I do like this thing. It's got a lot of nice tech. It's got great features, especially now that Chevy's finally giving us a full screen map in the gauge cluster. I really like that. But it's got great tech. It's decently quick. It's not lightning fast, at least not the all-wheel drive RS. The rear-wheel drive will be a bit faster, but it's fast enough for most everybody's purposes. If you're an enthusiast looking for speed, and you don't want to wait on the SS, get the RS rear wheel drive or just wait for the SS. But like I said, it's a cool car. I like it. It's got neat styling. It's got some great stuff in it. And if you're considering one of these, I definitely encourage you to put this thing on your shopping list and go try it out. And all this is coming from me, someone who is part of a large group of people that can appreciate EVs, but is not completely sold on the idea of a complete EV takeover. I like this thing. I probably won't buy it, but I do like it. Anyways, guys, thanks y'all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. I hope it was informative and helped you to make a decision as to whether or not you'd like to possibly get one of these. Once again, huge special thanks to the folks at West Chevrolet of Alcoa, Tennessee for allowing me to use this Blazer EV RS for today's review. Once you're done watching this video, please make sure you go down to the description, click on the link to their website, and go check out their inventory. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe, share with friends, go to the channel, check out the rest of what I've got. Did I mention subscribe? Subscribe to the channel. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.